Welcome to today's mini voice lesson about finding your true voice. If you've ever felt discouraged or wondered how to find a singing tone and style that feels natural to you and not forced, we're going to be talking about that today, along with some strategies that you can develop and use to help you find your natural, true to you singing voice. Let's talk about things in your sound, in your singing, that can make you sound artificial and not very genuine. First of all, pushing and forcing vibrato. I like to think of this as no bleeding sheep. You know the sound. It's just too much. It's fake sounding, it's forced sounding. It's only going to give very few people the effect that they're looking for, if you know what I mean. So instead, you want to be developing a natural, vibrant tone, a sound that shimmers, a sound where the voice is moving with the breath, where you have no constriction, you just have a lot of freedom of air and voice moving together. That's what you want to be going for. You train that technique, the vibrato is going to fall in place on its own. I remember when I first started voice lessons, I had a teacher I admired so much. She had the most beautiful vibrato, clear, bright singing tone, beautiful vibrato. And I asked her, how can I sing with this? How can I sound like you? And she didn't know what I meant at first. And then when she realized I was talking about vibrato, I didn't know the term at the time. She said, once everything's in place, it will just be unlocked. It'll be there. I was very skeptical, but she was right. It probably took about 6 months of training, but once I had my core muscle engagement, breath flow was moving, I found a beautiful placement for my singing tone, everything fell into place. I have so much control over my vibrato now. I can sing with straight tone if I want to, I can add a little bit of shimmer into the sound, or I can sing out with full vibrato. I promise the same will happen for you. Healthy vibrato, natural vibrato, I should say, is a sign of healthy singing technique, of everything working freely and easily for you. So don't push or force the vibrato. Honestly, I wouldn't focus too much on it. I wouldn't work too hard on vibrato because if everything else is there, vibrato will follow, I promise you. And be patient. It does take time, but it will come for you too. Remember, no bleeding sheep. Okay, the other thing that we as singers traditionally have heard a lot, especially if you sing in choir, or maybe you study with a bel canto teacher, or a teacher who's a little more old school, classical is the only way to train your voice type of teacher, you've probably heard project, project, project. Sometime it's not going to work to project your voice. If you're singing a contemporary style where you're not going for that full acoustic amplification in your mouth, which would give you a sound like this, then you're not going to be able to project the way a classical or opera singer would. And that might not be the tone that you desire, and that's okay. Most commercial contemporary music uses a microphone. So you might want to try even practice with a microphone. Definitely if you're going to perform, practice with a microphone because it will affect the way you project the acoustic of your voice, the way it's amplified, and you might find that you're working too hard. Over this summer, I worked on a recording project where I was recording vocal exercises for all of my students, and I realized that I was really pushing and straining my voice. And it was because I was working too hard to project commercial contemporary sounds, and I should have been letting the mic do that work for me, amplify my voice. The way I'm speaking now, I have natural amplification in my voice. I'm not pushing, I'm not straining, my voice doesn't feel tired. This is the dynamic level I typically want to use when I'm singing. Of course, you'll have ebbs and flows to that, that's okay. But we don't want to be pushing our sound out and straining our voices to project, when you could just be using a microphone. Contemporary commercial music uses a microphone for amplification. Something else you want to keep in mind is, even though you don't want to force your voice, you definitely can work to strengthen it. Strengthen your chest voice and your head voice individually, and then work on strengthening your mix, which is a blend of the two. As you work on strengthening your voice, then you're naturally going to be able to amplify your sound more and to send it out into the room. You might want to check out my latest YouTube video on how to sing and train your mixed voice if you want some ideas on how to get started there. Something else that's going to help you find your natural singing tone is just to mimic your singing voice after your speaking voice. So right now I'm speaking in a mix. If I went to sing, 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 you see that I'm still singing as an extension of my speaking voice. I'm keeping the same color, I'm keeping the same vocal tone. All I'm doing is adding a little bit more core support, a little more drive in the breath. I'm opening up, lifting my soft palate slightly to help me find more amplification inside my mouth. And I'm placing the sound forward. So all of these things are present in my speaking voice as well. I'm just elevating them, energizing them to help me sing. If I want to sing, 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 give it a try yourself. Something else to consider is it's okay when you're working out your voice, but in general, if you're going for high effort and you feel like you're always working so hard to produce the sound you want, just scale that back, bring it down. So if 1 is easy and 10 is very difficult, you don't really want to be exceeding 5 or 6 or 7 too often, except when you're building and strengthening your voice. But if you're going to sing your repertoire, you don't always want to be singing at an 8 or a 9 or a 10, because this will strain your voice, make you hoarse. It's going to make singing the next day very difficult because you'll have swelling, and you'll have lactic acid buildup and the whole 9 yards. So moderate effort. If you're working too hard, unless you're pushing yourself to the next level in a vocal workout, but in general, if you're working too hard all the time for your vocal production, scale it down, bring the effort level down. You might actually be surprised how much you can produce at a lower level of effort. I'll give you a little example here. Nya, 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 nya. I'm singing at very high effort. That was like an 8 probably for me. I am pushing my voice, I'm trying really hard, I'm engaging all my neck muscles, and as a result, I was almost shouting. My neck muscles tightened up, I wasn't getting good placement from my vocal tone, it was kind of too far back in my head, and the sound was just pushed and strained. We don't want that. Now, if I scale my effort back, I'm going to relax my neck, engage my core, going to focus on my placement. Nya, 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 nya. Nya, 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 nya. Already I'm getting more feedback from my sound because I can focus on what I'm doing. I can focus on what I'm sounding like and what I'm feeling instead of just pushing all my effort into that note and feeling the strain and nothing productive is happening. Always be productive when you're practicing these techniques. High effort will not necessarily get you high level results. Now, as a singer, something else that will help your voice sound its best and help all the overtones emerge and that beautiful shimmery sound that sounds true and authentic to you, what will help you get there is if you develop vocal stamina. What will help you reach a high level of vocal stamina where you can sing for a long period of time without getting tired, without pushing, without tightening up in your throat. There's a few things you can work on to help you. Your core muscle strength, always work on supporting your sound with your abdominal muscles. So you're not tightening up in here. This is all loose and relaxed. You lean on your abs and engage them as you sing and let that be your power source instead of your throat. Another power source is going to be your airflow. Now, contemporary styles require less air than classical styles. Certain songs may be more speech-like, you only need small sips of air. Whatever the demands of the phrase are, that's the amount of breath that you take. However, if you've trained your body to be able to sing through long phrases and you work on warm-ups, you've trained your voice to be able to sing longer warm-ups that require a steady, consistent stream of air throughout, then that is going to prepare you to sing anything you want. And then if you only need a small sip, easy breezy, no problem. Don't even have to think about it. So train your voice to be able to sing with a consistent, steady stream of air, and voice and breath move together. Here's an example of me singing with too much air. If I'm looking for a really breathy sound, that actually might not be too much air, that might be okay. But in most cases, we want to balance that out a little more. Voice and breath move together. They're very balanced and in harmony, working together. Now here's an example of me over pressurizing my sound so that my vocal folds are slammed together and I really have to blow the air out to get that sound. Ah! Just painful, right? So bad for your vocal folds. So hard on the voice. You can hear from that I'm going a little bit hoarse. Reset. Okay, so we want to bring that together. Equal amounts air, breath, moving freely together. That will help your true sound come out and not be too breathy and weak or too compressed and over pressurized where you're virtually blowing the vocal folds open, which you never want. Okay, last thing I want to mention is work on your vocal range extension. I'm a soprano, I sing quite high. I can go, I'm not going to do it because it'll hurt your ears, but I can sing at about a D6, so quite high. I never really need to sing that because I don't sing classical repertoire anymore. I still work my voice out to that upper extreme. And then low register, I mean, it doesn't sound great, but low register, I can sing about a D3. Again, I never would sing a song that low. It's definitely not in my wheelhouse of strength, but I still work out that end of my voice. This way I can have healthy registration on both ends, and I have all the tonal colors available to me as I mix. This is something I'm working on, is strengthening my chest voice more so that I have more colors accessible to me. Because as a previously classically trained soprano, my chest voice is definitely more underdeveloped and weak than my head voice. So I'm working to strengthen that so I have more options and colors available to me. And that's what you want to do too. Don't neglect the register that is weaker. If you're an alto or you call yourself a mezzo, I don't really love titles, but you know what I mean. If that's your wheelhouse of strength, don't neglect your upper register just because it's not as strong. Your whole singing voice needs attention and care. If you work out the entire thing, even your area of strength will become so much more beautiful and well-rounded and full and shimmering. Can't say enough good things about what this will do for your voice. Quick story. When I was in university, I did a 4-year classical performance degree because that's basically the only option available to me in Canada, or it was at the time. I trained so hard on my head voice. I was going to be a coloratura soprano, lyric soprano, and I trained my head voice so hard, my chest voice was almost completely neglected. You can imagine all the imbalance in my sound and all the power that I was missing out on. I knew I didn't want to go in the classical direction long term, so I took lessons over the summer and sporadically throughout the year with a music theater educator, and I worked on my chest voice, strengthened my chest voice. Came back in the fall and my classical voice instructor was like, wow, your voice is so much more powerful and there's so many more colors to it and so much more warmth. I was like, yeah, I really think working on my chest voice has strengthened my head voice. And now that I've done more research and delved into some of the studies, practiced this more on myself, and now teach this to my students also, I do really appreciate how much working out your register of weakness will support and strengthen your register of strength. So long story short, in summary, work on your entire voice, expand your entire range, strengthen all of it. Don't neglect areas of your voice just because they feel uncomfortable or you don't like how they sound. It's not like you have to go and perform in that register for anyone. but think of the good of your overall voice. All right. Thank you for sticking with me. If you've made it this far, I hope this voice lesson has helped you and given you some perspective. If you want some vocal workouts and more mini voice lessons like this, please subscribe to my channel for future videos and check out the workouts already there.